Hi, and welcome to my new vlog for my channel, for my website, Declan Flynn Fitness. Today I'm going to be joined with Aideen Ni Riada to talk about confidence, mindset, goal setting, a little bit of nutrition, and just getting involved and getting started in training and other aspects in your life as well, and other hobbies too, about getting the actual first initial steps taken to get going as well. Aideen's background involves PT work, nutrition, some psychology, but our main work now is about teaching confidence to people through actual singing. But the same basis applies to getting up and going and moving and getting a project, getting a goal started is exactly the same. So continue on listening in and watching in, and let me know what you think. Put a few comments below, and look forward to catching up with you next time. Let's get watching. So Aideen, thanks very much for joining me. And that's the first time doing a podcast and a video recording as well. So I'm reaching out globally as well. So Ireland, okay, and States at the moment.
Yes, I'm in Michigan. So it's great to meet you. And do you want me to introduce myself a little?
If you can tell me a little bit about yourself and let our listeners know a bit more about you.
Great. So yeah, I moved here to the US a few months ago in August because my mother-in-law lives here. My husband is from Michigan originally, and my background is I have been through the fitness world and the mindset. I studied psychology, goal setting, and things like that. And in the last few years, I've gotten more into more spirituality and meditation. And having done a few years of meditation, it gave me the confidence to pursue what I really wanted to do, which was the thing that I didn't do because I was so shy about it, or so worried that I wouldn't actually achieve it, that it would be devastating to me. We all have those little goals in our lives that we don't tell anyone. And for me, that was singing. So even though I'd worked in nutrition and I'd done fitness training for a while, I still had studied psychology. I'd worked in beauty. I was an image consultant. I was, I sold high-end skincare products in Harvey Nichols in Dublin for a while. But my real joy in life was deep down was music. And when I made a little prayer that I'd be able to do something with music. And I found I was inspired then to start teaching singing to adults, beginner adults who don't normally sing. And I started doing group sessions, and I within about 5 or 6 months, I had a new brand name, Confidence in Singing. I had started teaching one-on-one, and very quickly I had a Facebook page, a website, and it's kind of been a very steady part of my life and consistent over the last 4 years. And I have a beautiful community of people that I've worked with, and I'm expanding it further at the moment. I have a new website that I'm working on at the moment, it's actually called Sing Your Wedding Song. So I want to niche into working with people who have a specific event that they're singing for.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting journey, Declan. And it was funny how I found you on Facebook, and immediately I felt that we had something in common, even though I'm a singing teacher and you're a fitness instructor. So I think the listeners will get why I'm here.
Yeah.
Conversation.
That's the interesting thing. Like our journeys bring us a so wide path as well. We have a core element that is intrinsically very similar as well, in sense of the fitness and the interest in nutrition and mindset and meditation. But then that diversifies constantly, and like that's a part of life. We're constantly evolving and changing our thinking, and that's where we're growing. But that's where we see the benefits of our being changing. I'm always looking at, again, in the spiritual side of things too, that the person Declan today is a different from Declan yesterday and totally different from Declan tomorrow, because my mindset is constantly changing the way I'm thinking. And with our goals that we have, what we want to do, we might have a one outcome and have a pathway we want to explore at that particular moment in time. But somebody, it could be ourselves, even saying something today would put someone else in a different sidetrack of what they want to do as well, and just get them thinking of a new dynamic of moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really, really interested to see where this conversation goes.
Yeah. So like well, part of what I want to do with all my podcasts and recordings is help people like get up and get started with their fitness journey. And like a core element that is actually the confidence to actually make the question or and ask out for reach out for help. And
Yeah.
that, and I'm sure even with what all you've done and what you're currently doing as well, people coming to you to have that initial conversation is a difficult thing.
It is, and that's one of the reasons why I like working with people at that point, which is
Hmm.
why a lot of my marketing is around people who don't sing. Like
Yeah.
I could promote myself to singers and work with advanced singers, and I'd probably have a better stream of new people coming all the time. But the
Yeah.
people who I work with are people who don't think they should sing, and maybe they can and maybe they can't, and
That'd be me as well.
they yeah, and it's the same for a lot of people going into fitness. I mean, I'd be happy to help you learn to sing, Deck.
Have
That's what you want.
your
Um,
work cut out there.
we could do some bartering here.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's really the first step is the hardest step. You
Mm.
know, it's that one where it's like a big mindset shift. And we know the way the mind works is we kind of have these neural pathways,
Hmm.
a way that you tend to think about yourself or an identity about
Yes.
who you are. And we become a bit ingrained in that. And a lot of people are very hard on themselves. And around, say, fitness, people can kind of be like, well, you know, I always have that treat every day, and you know what I mean, I'm not going to push myself, you know, that wouldn't be good for me. Do you know, do we
No.
have these little thoughts that maybe aren't allowing us to change? And when I have people come to me for singing, the first thing I do is reassure them that the journey is the fun thing.
Yes.
That, you know, they can come to me, right? Okay, they're worried that they can't sing, they're worried that they won't be able to do the thing they want to do, which is
Hmm.
maybe a big thing like sing at a party or something. And
Yeah.
I'll say, look, we're not going to worry about that bigger goal. We're going to try to have some fun in the classes, and you'll explore who you are and kind of what you enjoy singing and what you
Yeah.
can do with your voice in a more gradual step by step way, and enjoying that interaction of, you know, doing something you enjoy
Yeah.
for the sake of just doing it and not the sake of that end goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, would you find that people, it's their time away from the chaotic environment that are in as well, and it's their mindset to be able to take a little like appointment for themselves, and that
Yes.
and just a de-stress to release as well, mentally, emotionally, where everything that's been going on in the lives of the last week or the month has been chaotic and personal and work. Do you find that they come in for that aspect as well of just almost like therapy?
Yes. Yes, definitely. I remember I was featured on Nationwide a few years ago, and my brother rang me up and said, Aidan, I didn't realize you did therapy in my singing classes. And I was like, do I? And the fact is, people do gain a lot more than they realize when they take on something that
Mhm.
matters to them.
Yeah.
And health matters to people, and singing matters to people sometimes a lot as well. It's like
Yeah.
that secret thing that they wish they could do.
Yeah.
But one of the nice things that we both have in common is this use of breathing
Yes.
and the use of the physical body. Because I know some people think of singing as just to do with your throat, but actually, we're increasing the oxygen levels throughout your body when you sing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's another reason why, if you were going to a fitness class, well, you're bound to feel better afterwards, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like we do different breathing techniques where you have to have that full body tension has to be brought in, and you have to suck in the air and push out when you're doing your workouts and that. And you are bringing more oxygen in, so you're going to feel that little bit more energized, well, greatly and more energized at the end of the day, and that
Absolutely.
too. But you're learning how to rework the dynamic of the body as well, and it's just feeling more engaged with how the body works
Mm.
as well.
More
So
present, even.
yeah, more present in that moment, and that I certainly found, as I said to you beforehand, that it was a meditation for me to get involved in training. That my mind zoned out of everything that was going on. That was I'll say not detrimental to me in a great way, but like being busy or stressed too, and that was my releasement. So I would try to sing. I sing in the car, and that's one way I release as well. I sing privately, but I just allow myself to engage in that physical action as well. So, but at the end of the day, it's about finding, for me, a way to deload from the chaotic life. And that,
Yeah, and what you're saying there as well is like it's time away from your regular life. And so many people, they don't give themselves any, it's like self-love in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's like look after you. And I talk to people a lot about this. I don't know um if it's a singing thing, but I always say to people, you know, you have to be strong in yourself before you can help others
yes,
properly. Do you know what I mean? Like it's lovely to be able to go, oh here, take my phone, you know, or take this meal and take that. But if you don't have a phone of your own and you don't have a meal of your own, that doesn't help. It's better for you to have two phones or to be able to afford to pay for someone to buy one. So it's
yeah,
almost like, you know, and one of my friends that I worked with in nutrition, she used to say an empty sack can't stand. And a lot of people are living their lives like they don't need to fill in what they need in life. Like they're not eating properly. They're eating whatever, like junky food instead of real food. They mightn't even be eating enough food.
yes,
And then you know you're expecting yourself to be able to cope with life.
yeah, yeah.
And we know from you know our bodies are you know the energy that we store in our bodies can get depleted when we're not nourishing it as much as
Yes.
it needs.
Yeah. And how did you find on the nutrition side of things when you're working with that? Like, what was the main things, like two or three things that may have cropped up regularly
Oh
that,
my good. Well, the thing that I did, I went to a nutritionist first before I studied it, and she kind of gave me this gasp when I said that I had a treat every day. She's like, and I went, "Oh my God, is that really that bad?"
yeah,
And she convinced me to stop eating sugar for like a year. I mean, she didn't ask me to do it for a year. She
yeah,
asked me to do it like for a month, and I ended up doing it for a year. So I only had dark chocolate, and I avoided almost. And I had a couple of Christmases that I didn't have any treats, like. And then I was afterwards going, well, that wasn't really necessary, you know. I was got really strict with
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
So like I find that I suppose the biggest thing I notice with most people is they're a little bit addicted to sugar in that they don't realize how they'd feel if they stopped completely for a couple of weeks. They don't
yeah,
realize how well they'd feel, and they're reaching for things automatically and mindlessly. Where we're talking
mhm,
about presence and being in the moment. Like I see my husband even going having that, like you know, and I'd be like, because I don't eat much eat sugar in that way anymore because I had given it up for long enough
mhm,
that now I understand the result of eating that sugar. I'll feel a change physically
yeah,
and I'll feel a bit more groggy mentally, and I'll also start having those cravings very soon. And then I'm like struggling for a few days
yeah.
to reel that back in again because those cravings, once you get them,
Oh, yeah,
it takes at least few days, at least 3 or 4 days for them to
yeah,
stop. And for some people, it takes longer.
yeah,
So you have to so with nutrition, it's really about creating new habits
mhm,
and having a bit of self-discipline. Like actually, for my own good, I'm not taking that thing. You know what I mean? And it's tough.
yeah,
That's probably one of the hardest things because that's when they're not in the studio with you training. They're in their own house.
yeah.
They're on their own, you know, under their own devices. Like who
Yeah.
knows what people are going to do?
That's
But
it. Like,
when that
sorry.
nutritionist made that face at me when I said I had a treat every day, and she went, that actually shocked me, right? And so that made me feel like no, this is serious now. And that's why when I went off and did it, I did it really strictly, and
Mhm,
it served me to do it strictly for a period of time. And now I can. I'll always say to people, no problem having a bit of a sweet or a dessert, but after a meal,
yeah,
don't ever eat something sweet on its own, like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, going for a hot chocolate and a bun. That's the worst thing you could do because that's pure sugar with no real food near it, going straight into your bloodstream and bringing you into that,
yeah.
you know, insulin high and everything. So that's really, if I had to, you know, and I tell people these things, you know, from time to time now, but it's not my main thing. But I'm sure you're repeating it over and over again in the gym, are you?
Yeah, well, that's the same. Like with some people, they know the insides and outs and no problem, and that, and it's just kind of reinforcing that and kind of giving that, yeah, validation what they're doing is correct. Others you
Yeah.
may find is no, just need that little bit more won't say coercing and saying, just have a look at this way, try this out and see if it works. And then they might come back, oh, I did that for a week and I feel so much better for it. Now, I'd never say totally strip something that you like out your diet. I was only talking to my other half about this as well recently, and that you still, to make it sustainable, that you have to have your treats in every so often too, that otherwise you're going to go backwards and be like yo-yoing to him. And I was like that in the early days for me too, when I was uncertain. I cut out bread completely, and I cut out sugar, and I did all those things. But then when I started to include them back again, I went overload too soon.
Yeah.
Now it's about finding a balance point within it, because I have a sister who lives in Italy, and I go over and imagine Italians have sugar in a lot of things, and that's very, very sweet food. And I used to come back with aches and pains, and that my shoulders, my joints, and that from just having that influx that I wouldn't normally have.
Yeah.
And so it's about having
about noticing those things. I think that when you ask people to start to notice those things, that's important. It's about self-awareness a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, like there's a one client that's working with me at the moment. Like he's gone through and just changed from eating regular bread and pastas and all that to eating gluten free, and he's gone down the opposite side now, and the energy levels through the roof, no problem, and that. But if he has that little bit of gluten food, he feels it like the cramp in his stomach, and that he feels bloated for a couple of days too, and you can really tell the difference as well. So he's seen the benefit. Yeah, that's not necessary for everyone to do that, but it certainly has paid dividends for him to be able to do that. And that was a big thing for him to change his habits to begin with, to that, and to not be able to even have vegetables as much or fruit as much, but then incorporating that in and seeing it all pieced together as well. Because I noticed when I did that my taste buds change. I want more savory stuff than sweet stuff as well. Give me a pack of ham or an antipasta board or something like that, and I'm happy with that. Then going down like, and I would never say to anyone to avoid carbs or anything like that. We need them. They're part of our daily requirements. But I will happily just get an antipasta board of meats and cheeses and a few veg, and I'm happy, and that. So it's about the changing of routines and the way we do things. But
absolutely, yeah, those things they take making a decision to change something small and do it regularly is way more important than setting a huge goal that is so far away that you feel it's impossible, and then you just procrastinate on taking any small steps because you feel like it's too big, I'm never going to do that. So I think when it comes to goal setting, those kinds of small changes are some of the most important goals.
And it's like, it's funny that we when we mentioned that before we start recording, I was saying I'd literally just wrote a blog post about those exact things, that you take a small little foundation point, that, and even if you get knocked back, that a wise words was said to me by a friend years ago, it's great to hit rock bottom, you have a solid foundation to build from again. So you've already learned, put a new layer on of your experience, and then you don't have to go back to that beginning phase again. You've already built upon it, and then all you're doing is reset, or it's a rehearsal that you've done. You haven't quite got it yet, but you've looked at one path and one avenue of it, and then you can go again from a slightly different viewpoint.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people have situations like that in their life, as in general low points. Like I had been working in the gyms, and I was doing all these different kind of nutrition related and stuff jobs, and I had been in London, and I really hated what I was doing. Like, I mean, I really enjoyed working with people. I enjoyed seeing them get results, but it wasn't for me anymore. And I hit a rock bottom at that point. And when I came back to Ireland, I had lost so much weight. I was 8.5 stone, and I'm like 5'8", so like 8.5 stone is very light for me. Like, I'm slim. I mean, you can't see me now, but like I'm slim anyway, right? But like this was so slim, and it was really a shock to my family, and and it took me time to actually get myself to accept my life again. right? So it wasn't so much moving forward was the problem. It was really getting really acquainted with what was real for me in that moment. So you hit rock bottom, you start to go, right, this is the actual situation, and you're not pretending anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and myself included, big time, spend time, pretending things are okay when they're not okay, and pretending that's, that person is, my best friend, even though deep down they're not being that nice to you. Do you
Yeah.
know, there's so many things we accept in our lives that really, they don't quite work. And we have to somehow, as hard as it is, because a lot of the time what we do is when we see those things, we blame ourselves. We're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have gone to London. I shouldn't have taken that job. Why did I say I'd become a personal trainer when I didn't really want it and preferred the nutrition? And we
Yeah.
beat up on ourselves, and that stops us being real,
Yeah.
because we don't want to accept that we made all those mistakes.
Hmm.
So coming back to basics and being really where you are
Yeah.
is number one. Like, I mean, people come into you, I'm sure, and they've gained weight they didn't want to gain, and they almost are in denial about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can very, very easily happen. Just circumstances that could be in control of life, and circumstances change all of a sudden. Now, the big thing we know this year, we won't mention the C word, and
Yeah,
that, but it can force people to retreat, and they have to work back at home, so they're not moving about as much as well, and they have gained that little bit extra weight that they would normally have done that, because they would have had some level of activity every day going to and from work as well. They don't
yeah,
have that opportunity to snack as often as well, because they're
yeah,
sitting at a desk as well, that type of thing. So like, yeah, I have come across that. I'm talking to others as well, that that's been like the norm of this year as well, of putting that little bit extra on and feeling that little bit more lethargic too, because they haven't been able to do a better level of activity for this year. So, but it's getting into that mindset. I always look at going into like a new year, I set my three goals I want, three things I want to achieve within the year. So for me, even I know I'm always been physically active and that, but my cardio side is terrible. And that, and I
mhm,
put my hand up and say that. But so that's one of my goals for next year, and that's why I'd be encouraging clients too to think about three things that they want to do for next year, be it to get the nutrition that little bit more tweaked, that it's even that little bit more precise, even though they're already achieving the initial phase and goal that they wanted to do and lose some weight and that and be more energized. But what's the next level they want to bring that to?
yeah, definitely. And like, there's a lot of things people want that they never admit. Like,
Yeah.
I would love working people around the inner child.
Mm.
Like, I mean, when we think of running around a playground as children and the activity of that, that's probably how you feel when you go into the gym. It's like, yay, I'm getting on this machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yay, I'm going up and down, and if you relate to that, it brings out something in you, and it's a nourishing to a deeper part of you, not just your health, like not just your external and your.
Yeah.
So if I was talking to people about their goals for the year, I'd ask them, what's the secret thing that deep down you always wished you could do? Because there's things that we wanted when we were kids that we still kind of deep down want, whether that's to be able to learn to paint or learn to sing. Say, for a lot of people who come to me, they keep things to themselves. They don't actually take any forward motion steps because they're lacking in confidence, they're lacking in self-esteem, and that self-esteem doesn't actually start growing until you try something new and succeed at it. Like, and sometimes that might be making a phone call, or it might be, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk, that and like
Yeah.
go all the way up the hill and back down again. Do you know what I mean? When you set a slightly bigger goal, we need to challenge ourselves
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that our self-esteem and our confidence grows. And
Yeah.
whether that's challenging yourself to join the gym, or challenging yourself to, change your nutrition and maybe eat oat bars that you make yourself instead of Snickers, some things like that. Any of those little things, when you do them and you kind of resolve it in your own self, right? I'm doing this. And even if you decide, oh, I'm only doing it for 3 days, the
Yeah.
the feeling of, I did that for 3 days,
Yeah.
that's what grows your confidence.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that that's what brings confidence, and they think that people are either born with it or not born with it. But
Yeah.
you can actually build your confidence by setting yourself small things, tiny things almost. Like, I'm going to walk to that bush with the red berries on it instead of going turning around now. I mean, I did that recently.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I got to the red bush, I was like, oh, God, I'm tired now. Why did I decide to come all the way here? But then when I was walking back, I felt like a sense of achievement, and that is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I kind of trained my mind when I was going to do my first marathon. And like, I was not a runner by any distance, any measure at all. And like, it was a long time since I did long distance walking, because it's like I was out with the scouts for about 10 years. So the long hikes were long in the past as well. But you pick a point, you go to that length, you pick that lamppost in the distance, you focus on the small increments. And then that went from 1 mile up to 10 miles. And eventually, even though I nearly crawled the last 2 miles of that first marathon, because, with painkillers as well.
Oh, bless.
But I got there. But it's those little steps we see. And like, I'm sure you would have come across that you might have some clients now currently that it may be getting closer to their target date or event they want to do, and like fear creeps in again. And it's like you have to reassure them with that confidence. Like, it's like when I go to a weigh-in with a client, it's like some might get a little bit hesitant, others can't wait for it. So I'm sure you'll have some clients that are bursting to sing a top voice, and others then almost want to clam up then at that.
And I think that becomes where you have to keep your groundedness and keep your sense of the fact that I kind of got to the 10 miles is more important than the time I did it in, almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So somebody comes to me and they want to sing, and they might do a recording of themselves singing, and then they'll be picking it apart, and I'll be said, well, your big success was the fact that you actually recorded it. Like, you actually recorded yourself singing. Brilliant. And you shared it in the WhatsApp group. Brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it is. But so that's your little, you have to take your little successes at the stage you're at. Like, if you're a beginner singer, you get through a whole song without looking at the words, that's success, even if it was like half it was wrong. So I'm a big believer in being very compassionate towards yourself, like, as in, if you, like, for instance, if you were weighing yourself or something, you'd be like, well, I know I put the effort in. So the actual, and you know yourself anyway, the weight on the scale isn't everything. It's a lot to do with the fat muscle balance. And so sometimes we're looking at a result, and that's not the true result. That's not really what other people see. Like, I sang for my granny's funeral a few weeks ago, and I made a mistake in the song. I started in one key and I ended up half a step lower because I went wrong, and I knew the place I was going to go wrong. I wrote a blog post. If your listeners are interested, they can look it up on my website, confidenceinsinging.com. But it was about me kind of accepting that, even though I completely forgot the words before I went up and couldn't remember if I was even going to be able to sing it properly, and started to choke up because I knew people in the church were starting to choke up, and went wrong in the one place that I knew I might go wrong. But I got through the whole song. And I mean, my cousins and all, when they read the blog post, were like, Aideen, you're having a laugh. I thought it was beautiful, do you know? So it didn't matter. Like, a lot of the things we see as a negative are not really negatives. And that's really important, that we're kind to ourselves. Because when we're kind to ourselves, we will move on with it. And when we're really hard on ourselves, it's like what's going to happen next? If you're really hard on yourself, it's going to be, harder to be realistic and move forward. So I'm a big believer in kindness and being a little bit gentle with yourself, especially on a new journey. And that's what I specialize in confidence in singing, is taking new singers. And so you have to be really, take your time, and don't be rushing, and every day should be, as long as it's fun and you make it something you're going to enjoy, whether you achieve something or you don't achieve something, then it's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, one thing I've always said is that you need to be, because as a wise friend of mine said it to me first, you need to be selfish in order to be selfless. Because if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after others, and that it's a hard thing to do, because we're always taught to be selfless. And that's kind of, society's taught us, like, you have to just give of your time, give of your energy to others, but then you couldn't be bothered to look after yourself then. So if you reverse it around, it comes back tenfold. I believe that way, that you give what you can to yourself, and that little bit 10% left over, give that to others, and then that will come back to you in turn. If we all did it, it'd be like an unending chain of support
I
as
know, and
well.
I think a lot of people, they mistake that self-kindness with selfishness. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's really about nourishing yourself. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, we're adults now, but there is an element of mammying yourself as an adult.
Yes.
You know, I really believe in that. Like, what would your mammy say to do? She'd say, go off now and do your training session. Or she'd say, go on, sing a song, and prop you up on the table. For some kids, they got put on the kitchen table and told to sing.
Mm.
So and even if your own mammy wasn't that type of a mammy, you can actually be that type of mammy for yourself and
Yeah.
give yourself the encouragement and the bit pats on the back,
Yeah.
and like they go on, you can do it,
Yeah.
kind of parenting
Yeah.
towards yourself as an adult. And that's can move you forward a lot faster than the why didn't I do that right, and I wish I, why did I eat that cheesecake, or why did I have 3 slices instead of one, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We need to move forward and move past our mistakes quicker
Hmm.
with a bit of kindness, and then do good things for you.
Yeah.
Do like spend money on a trainer if that's going to make you a better, healthier person. Like, I mean, our health is really what people are relying on. Like, if somebody has a family and they don't have their health, they're not able to make food for them, they're not bringing in money for them, they find it harder to support those
Yeah.
people in their family if they're struggling and really under the weight of kind of problems themselves. So we need to fix our own problems first, like you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I said that years ago. As somebody came to me, this is another line of work I was doing, and I said, "Oh, somebody they need to look after their own issues before coming here." And that
Yeah.
then turns out that day something happened to me, and I looked at reflected back on myself. Then it's like the universe is telling me, "Come on, look a little bit closer to home," and it was like a snowball effect then as well. And my eyes opened up, and the changes were made then
What
too.
was that about? Was that something you could talk about on the podcast?
Yeah, I've talked about it plenty of times before. That's when it was the day I actually came out. Um, I, I I wasn't expecting to come out that day, but then I opened my eyes to things that I've seen that I was like overeating and like emotional eating as well. And my father would say to me, or maybe look at losing weight, and I shoved the opinion away, the thought away. He's only been
Yeah.
helpful, and so it was only after I came out and I went off to do some work in Norway. Then a year later, a photograph was taken of me, and I deemed myself this nickname, the Irish Buddha, the
Yeah.
way I was sitting and the weight, the way my body was.
Yeah.
I didn't see it before, but my eyes had opened because, as you can imagine, when it's not the same for everyone, but when you're staying in the closet and your eyes are blinkered to reality around you as well. You don't see everything that goes on. And
Yeah.
that aspect I've always talked about with people, that it's not just about coming out the closet about being gay, it's coming out the closet of acceptance of yourself, whatever that may be in life as well,
Understood. Yeah.
and as a ripple effect that way. And that was it empowered me on my holistic journey that I was doing at the time as well, and made me more open and susceptible. And I felt like a emotional bus has been lifted off my shoulders as well. And that got me into a boot camp. That got me to lose a stone within the first 6 7 weeks as
Yeah.
well. And that's my journey started in fitness from that point. But like it was still plodding away, didn't know what I was doing, trying to ask advice. I cut out this, cut out that, went through the fad diets that we all know about as well, lose weight, gain weight, and not no structure and that, and didn't know who to turn to. And then bit by bit over the years, then got a better appreciation and understanding. But it took a fair bit of my mind at the time to actually go and ask for help, to actually find someone that I could speak to openly without feeling dejected and like stupid, is one way of putting it. Go
Yeah, do
to
you know, this is interesting because I was reading an email last night, and my husband was like, he got really frustrated because they were using all this terminology that was like way over his head. And I was
yeah,
reading it going, I was kind of had like one eyebrow up. I was like, I don't know what it means, but anyway, I'm keeping reading, and there was something for me in it, right?
Yeah.
But it was at the very bottom, and he felt stupid because he couldn't understand it, and that was making him feel aggro, you know. But the fact of the matter is, we all have to be in that, you know, kind of beginner's mindset
Yes.
in order to learn. And being in a beginner's mindset really just means that you know you don't know.
Yeah.
You just you don't know, and it's okay that you
Exactly.
don't know. It's okay you don't know, because then you can take some steps to learn, and you can change things. Like a lot of people come into my singing classes and they're shocked how much they didn't know. Like, I mean, because they never realized that singing could, you know, you could change this thing, or you could change the way your chin is, or you could change where your tongue sits in your mouth and suddenly sound better. Like, they have no idea of what I know about singing.
Yeah.
And but they have to come in with that idea that I can learn something,
Yeah.
and then they will learn something. But we all clam up and we try to over control things.
Yeah.
And when we're hiding things and we're not being honest with ourselves, it's like we're managing all the stuff around us too much, and trying to we're trying to keep things within a certain border, you know.
Yes.
We're trying to keep things in a safe zone for us.
Yeah.
And when we take down the safe zone a little bit, we can expand.
Yeah. Yeah. And certainly that's how my process was, and that because I stayed within a certain dynamic, and that, and didn't reach outside of that. And like walking into the gym the first time, and that was a hesitant point. Using a bench press for the first time. Now, a funny story, but not funny at the time, was I didn't think about, even, I know I did a little bit of physics in school and I should know a bit better, and that I unloaded the bar from one side and not the other. And it was like a guillotine. It was swung across to the other bench and I just missed someone.
Oh my Lord.
But like that's I'm never going to do that again. I'm
But you
never
know,
going to.
for women, it can be like that as well. Like, I remember the first time I did the bench press, and I felt like such an Egypt. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was there, you had to bring your elbows up really high, and you're going far back. And like, I was lucky that when I started any of that, I learned really good technique.
Yeah.
And it for women, I think it's even harder to imagine themselves doing weights or doing fitness stuff. It's like, it feels very unfeminine.
Yeah.
But it's actually, when I was doing it, I like actually thought I enjoyed my figure more. Like, I started to feel more confident in my own shape and
Yeah.
things like that. Like, it's something, if you have listeners that are women that are considering working with you, I'd say, you know, try it, because it's, and even if you don't like do it for long periods of time, it's an achievement. Like we're saying about building our self-confidence, you know,
Yes.
even if you did like a month in the gym and just got, you know, just tried it for a while, you'd be shocked at how much self-confidence that would give you, because you've tried something new
Yeah.
and you've given it a go, and you've kind of expanded your like comfort zone a little.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know, like, with a couple of clients, oh, they would have been hesitant or about coming to begin with, and now it's like they go mad if they can't make a session, and that's like that's like they love it. It's not like they're making improvements, but it's like they just enjoy coming, and it's, and I feel honored for that as well. To you build that rapport up with
Yeah.
them, that they want to be there as well. Even though I had to joke about and she'll be watching this as well. One of my clients, it took her 3 months for her to tell me to where to go, because I was pushing her that little bit more, because I knew she had that little bit extra energy to use. I said, it's after taking you that
Yeah,
long,
yeah, yeah.
so I know I'm doing a good job that way as well. If we're laughing and joking about it as well.
Oh,
So
she stood up to you for the first time.
it
Is
grew
that
up to
what
me
you
the
mean?
first time, but it took 3 months to do it. And that,
And you
but
know, sometimes that's a lesson in itself. Like,
it is,
we
yeah,
we need to be able to stand up for ourselves in life and go, look, that's on, that's okay, that's not on.
yeah,
And
yeah. But
it's,
we laugh
and yeah,
about
we need to do it. We need to do it to people who we trust first, people
it.
that we know aren't going to take it badly.
Yeah.
So fair play to her.
Yeah, but like it's just that we get, you build it up a rapport, you get to know these people, you know what their abilities are as well, so you know that they can always do that little bit extra rep or that extra set too, and you want to be able to have that achievement, and seeing them progress from not being able to do one particular movement
Yeah.
to doing it, and doing it with ease as well. And that's a big dynamic change for them. And they can go off then knowing that they have made these improvements as well. Like I wouldn't expect anyone to be with me for a year, 2 years, but if they go off after a period of time, that they feel that more invigorated, they feel that little bit more confident in their self-esteem, their mental state, as well as the physical state, to, I know I've done a good job as well. If I've given them the foundation, then for them, they know how to plan their food over a busy schedule. And that
And when you look at those extra benefits of doing, like, say, fitness, and I'd feel that, you know, people come to me as well and they gain confidence in other areas of their lives.
Yeah,
Like those are great reasons to do some of these things. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
we think, oh, I'm going to a trainer just to, you know, get into shape.
yeah,
But when you leave it, you've got more confidence, you've had more fun,
yeah,
and you've got loads of extra kind of benefits from it.
yeah.
And I think that that can be something people don't realize that they're going to get.
Yeah, well, that's how I ended up doing another 2 marathons as well. I've done three now.
Wow.
But but that's the thing. It was like, one I said I was going to do, and that was it. That's my last marathon, my second one. But and there was some running done, but it was about physical training, just in the gym and weights, and that showed me that there isn't a cardio element to all we do as well. Anyway, but
Yeah.
it was that confidence. Yeah, I am going to do this. I am going to knock time off from the 8.5 hours the first one took me. And I ended up taking 2 hours off it. So, and
Wow.
that was a big push again. And then the other half, over breakfast one morning, we joked about, have you done a marathon? He said, no. And I said, well, let's do one next year. So we did the 2019 Dublin Marathon. And, but again, the body recovered quicker. Like, there was no aches and pains in that. So you see in that shift and change physically within myself, that I didn't have to crawl up the stairs on my hands and knees like I did the first time. And that, so when people see that they are making these physical changes, and that, it's like the mindset of, I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to do this, I've done it before, I can do it again. Even if people walk away from training for a period of time, that foundation is still there. It's just re-engaging it.
Absolutely. And you keep that sense of kind of, I can accomplish something.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, I mean, when I started doing meditation, and my meditation teacher said, okay, I want you to meditate this one mantra for like 40 minutes. And
Yes.
I'm like, what? No way. I was trying to avoid doing it, but like when we set ourselves even as a goal like that and we achieve it, it just brings your confidence sky high. And a lot of us don't actually do anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm one of these people that also, if I read a book, I like to read it. Like, I don't read every book from beginning to end, but
Yeah.
there's certain books I'll be like, right, I'm going to read the whole thing. And that's my goal to myself. And so some people, it's not going to be a marathon, or it never might be. It might be just, I'm going to, I don't know, I'm going to stay off, you know, Facebook for a week. Like, sometimes it's something like that. But
Yeah.
even doing that and actually doing it right, you
Mhm.
feel like, yeah, I can do something now. I actually am capable. But you have to hold yourself accountable to
Yes.
your own goal, even if
Yeah.
it's something small, even if
Yeah.
it's just, I'm going to walk to the bush up there with the berries on it. You know, you have to hold yourself accountable to that, because if you decide, oh, I've decided I'm doing that, and then go, ah, sure, it doesn't really matter, who cares?
Yeah.
And you turn back, you're not just missing out on the extra few steps that you could have taken that would be better for your health, but you're missing out on that sense, that self-confidence boost, and that knowing that you can count on yourself,
Yeah.
that you actually are someone that you can count on.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. And you mentioned meditation there. That's something I've been interested in for over a decade now as well. Don't do it as often as I used to, and that, but I do be mindful and go into mindful moments at times as well.
Nice.
I found it difficult to begin with. That if I had even the slightest bit of noise in the room, that was it. That was the meditation finished with. I'm done after 2 minutes, and that someone's coming in and out of the other sitting room, and that, or the clock is ticking too loudly. Now I could sit in the middle of O'Connell Street and it wouldn't faze me, and that, of all the hustle and bustle, because it's just training the
Amazing.
mindset to be able to cancel out and you just be present in the moment. But I engaged that mindset then too when doing training, that I was just zoned out. I didn't care what anyone else was doing around me. I just
Mm.
focused on my breathing and what I was doing at that point. And I was like mindfully doing the execution of the exercise. And interestingly, there was a one guy in the gym, never got a chance to speak to him about that, 'cause he was always in this mindset. I just knew that
In the
uh,
zone, as they
and
say.
it's almost like he was going into a meditative practice before he did. It's the only person I've ever seen do it,
Yeah.
bench press, or every exercise he was doing. And some people that know me, that know, like, I would be aware of energies and things like that. And I could see this energy build up around him, that he was going into this mindful state before
Wow.
he did every movement. And so it was like peaceful to watch. I was seeing what was going on. Like, no one else obviously would see what's going on, but I could see this element. So as we've been mindfully engaging in a moment and just leaving everything else at bay.
Beautiful. And do you find that you can bring that mindfulness to how you train other people as well?
Um, I haven't fully integrated that. I bring up elements and that, like, I'll chat to anyone about anything, and that. So I've opened up about my life and what I do. Once I get to know people, where are they going to be acceptable to this element of me on that, or just leave that aside and I won't bring that up. I've got to know that better over the years of
Yeah.
who I can bring that conversation up with. But those that do be very accepting of it, they want to know more, and then I can reach in that little bit more as well, and actually develop a bond with people that way too. So you do
Mm.
find a deeper connection with some people when you're able to talk of not a necessary esoteric, in-depth procedures or ways, but there's like an understanding and wanting to know that a little bit more. So I do feel that we have inquired a mindset as well, that we want to be inquiring. We want to know more of what goes on around us as well. There's little hidden parts of life we're not fully tuned into all the time, but we have moments of clarity.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting, I think, to be able to share little bits of the wisdom that you've gained in
Yeah,
ways that aren't even in the wording of spirituality. Do you know what I mean? It's like just focus, like your mind. Like that's
yeah,
the same thing as meditation. Is like
yeah,
meditation is literally just concentrating your
yeah,
mind.
yeah,
So sometimes the people that you are and the person that you are, having done the spiritual stuff, is probably having more of an impact on the way that you train people than you realize. And I'd be interested to hear from some of your clients what they get from you, because I mean sometimes we don't realize what people are getting from us when we're working with them.
yeah. Yeah, and I get that from the holistic work I would have done in the past. And like, and sometimes it's just very simple. It's just being in the presence of someone that they leave feeling more energized or feeling happier as well. Outside of like gym stuff, related stuff altogether. A good friend of mine, um, Andrea, I know I can mention her, and that she'd, whenever she was feeling down at any time, my mother used to say to her, "Oh, you need Declan time. You just need to go for a walk with Declan. You always feel better afterwards." And that, and it's just that you hit off with some people, and that you can elevate each other as well. And that's where I feel as if those little bonds should be very special, but we can impart little elements of that to other people as well. Like, I come alive when I talk about more holistic things and the spiritual stuff, because it's a big part of me
Yeah,
as well. And so I
really
know
good.
I'll have little drops of that into my PT work at times too. But interestingly, I'm seeing other podcasts I'm listening to at the moment. Brian Keane from Galway, I've been listening to, and he had a couple of people on talking about spirituality and mindfulness. And I'm thinking, okay, is other PTs starting to do this as well? It's not just me thinking I'm totally different. I know I'm different anyway, and a bit weird at times, but others are starting to bring these elements in, and it's nice to see that.
It is. It really is. And it is about, relating to people and kind of having, this friendship. Do you know what I mean? And this, to be kind.
Yeah,
Sometimes we just need to be around people who can just be nice to us for like an hour and then you feel
yeah.
better. And
And
I liked that what you were saying about, just spending time with your friend Andrea. Like that's really what the life is about. It's just about connection.
yeah,
And so it's been great chatting to you about all this.
no, it's great. And
Really
thank you.
enjoyed.
So one thing I would ask you before you finish up is that how have you knitted everything that you've done together? You're just like me. Like I'm a gardener as well. I'm a merchandiser. I've done everything. How have you brought everything together to accumulate to what you do today?
I would say it comes back to the thing that we were talking about earlier about, good habits.
Yeah,
What I do is I take it day by day,
yeah,
and I'm a curious person,
hmm,
and I like to try things. So I tried things, and when it works, then I add it in. So I started off doing like my classes, group classes, and then because somebody asked me, I did one-to-one, and then I started to do one-to-ones, and I was like, well, kind of need a Facebook group. And then you kind of add things in as you go along. And like my big goal since last year was to do Sing Your Wedding Song, so that I could
hmm,
encourage people who don't normally sing to sing at a wedding, whether it's the guests or the groom or the bride.
yeah,
But since that's been in the works, my own meditation teacher said, when are you going to start teaching meditation, Aideen? So I've actually started teaching meditation twice a week. And if anybody's listening and they'd like to attend a mantra class, which is like Om and all that,
yeah,
you're very welcome. And anyone who's listening can come as my guest and try out a class. Just get in touch. So I don't limit myself.
yeah,
There's lots of ways I could be like, okay, I'm a singing teacher, or I shouldn't be doing meditation, or maybe I shouldn't tell my singing students that I'm teaching meditation now. Maybe they'll freak out,
yeah,
um, or maybe I shouldn't put it up on my website. Like I have my website, Confidence in Singing, and on the shop page there's a little picture of Buddha with mantra, and like it doesn't quite fit,
yeah,
but it's me. So and I mentioned meditation in my about page, like because
mhm,
when that's just who I am. So I think, Declan, you be who you are and do the things you want to do, and people who know you, it'll make sense to. And like you can just we can promote services rather than promoting it as an overall arching thing. Like I
yes,
just promote my mantra classes. I'm going to put up posters around my locality here in Michigan, and I promote them to different groups, different times.
hmm,
And some people will know that I do singing as well. Some people might not.
yeah,
So I think that we all, and I'm talking to your clients as well now, don't limit yourself. Like if you enjoy, I don't know, like tap dancing, go do a tap dancing class. Like why do we like think, oh, I'm a lawyer, so now I can't do
yeah,
comedy on the side or something? Like we need to be able to enjoy our lives. Like we're not here that long.
yeah,
Like try anything, do the fitness training, even though your sister, like my sister said to me, Aideen, you're doing a bikini competition. I was like,
yeah,
no, 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 it's a physique competition.
yeah.
Physique. She's like, are you wearing a bikini? And I said, yeah. She said, are you getting all tanned up? I was like, yeah. So the embarrassment of
Oh
doing
yeah,
all of that, I just did it. I didn't even think about it. My sister judged that at that point. So not everybody's going to get you. Like
yeah,
not everybody's going to love every aspect of who you are,
yeah,
but they're gonna like some bits, and some people will come to you, Declan, and be like, don't talk to me about mindfulness now, Declan, and you'll be
mhm,
like, no worries, like, and then other people will be like, hey, did you hear about the singing bowls thing happening on Saturday night? And you can have a great conversation about them.
barbells
So
and balls.
barbells and singing bowls, exactly. That's a great title for your book. But yeah, just be yourself, and I
Yeah,
think if you're try things. I think we lose a lot because we limit what we try,
yeah,
and we lose a lot by getting kind of overthinking things and procrastinating. So like you leapt into doing your podcast, I leapt into being your first guest. Like we probably have that in common, that we kind of are willing to try things. And
yeah,
I'd say to any of my students or any of your clients, don't hold back. Like try things. It's not
yeah,
going to cost you much. If it goes wrong, at least you've had the fun of trying. And
exactly.
when we do it often enough, we get better, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And how can everyone reach you? What's your? I'll put the details with the description anyway.
Yeah, so my website is confidenceinsinging.com, and I'm on Facebook, and
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram and things like that. I don't use those that much, but I am also teaching meditation classes. Irishtime I'm teaching on Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. So if
Okay.
anybody's at home or not working at the moment and wants to try a class, please just get in touch with me and I'll give you the details. Come as my guest to a class, and yeah, so I'm around. You can find me on Facebook. Aideen Ni Riada Wulpe is my long name. I kind of have my full kind of my married name and my Irish surname and everything.
Yeah.
So you can find me on Facebook if you can spell all that, which you probably can't.
No, but
So,
I'll
but
put it in the description anyway. And it's declanflynn.fitness for anyone's interested in online training plans as well. Or if you're in Dublin, one thing I'm doing is PT at home. So once COVID allows it, that we can go to people's back gardens and do a training session. And like for those who don't want to go straight into the gym environment, and that little bit more personal environment, that's possible there too. But I'd love to have you back on for the meditation side, and we'll do something separate. And
oh,
another,
great.
if you'd like to as well, you could do one of your a little intro to the chant meditation you do. I've used Omana Panayam and Om Shanti
Oh,
uh,
lovely.
as a regular thing for me, and that's just for bringing that peace and bringing a bit of clarity.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk more about that. Yeah, I'd look forward to that,
Do a
Declan. Thanks
separate
so
one
much
of
for
that.
having me.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye bye.